Hi, and welcome to the School Health Educators Podcast, where we discuss health education and how to best teach health ed in the K 12 setting. Hi, and welcome to the School Health Educators Podcast. I'm your host, Lori Reichel. Do you know the connection between health education and SEL, social emotional learning? Well, this episode is going to focus on that. And I do have two guests to help me out to do a little bit of chatting regarding that connection. And these two guests are powerhouses out there. They're just very passionate people about health education. And that is Michelle Rawcliffe and Emily.zien. So before I talk a little bit about health education and SEL, I'd like them to introduce themselves and say hi. So, hi, Michelle and Emily. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi.
Thanks, Lori. Pleasure to be here.
And would you mind telling us a little bit about your background? Michelle, do you want to go first?
Sure. I have been a health educator for almost 25 years, and I have recently left the classroom to write curriculum full time for Catch Global Foundation. I'm writing a K-5 skills-based health ed curriculum, and I am currently the chair of the Shape America Health Education Council, which Emily is also on.
Yeah. And I'm Emily.zien. I'm a PE and health teacher. I've taught 6th through 12th grade. Right now, I'm a middle school teacher in Beaverton, Oregon. I'm going into my 12th year. I love teaching health ed, teaching kids how the skills that they can use to take care of themselves and the people around them.
Wonderful. And thank you both for being here today. And I have to say, I love how health educators are so freely saying that phrase skill based.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're making so much more progression with skill-based education, and it's exciting. So thank you so much for both referring to that in your introductions. Um, the both of you are on the Shape America National Health Education Council, correct?
That's
What
right.
what is that? Would you mind explaining what that is?
Sure. So the National Health Education Council is a group of volunteers from all over that have applied and have been accepted into this council. And one thing that, if you forget everything else that I say, one thing that we do is we choose one project to do every year that advocates for health ed. And we'll talk about what that project is for this year a little bit later. But we do all sorts of things to support health educators in and administrators in all over the country. We provide Shape America's programs and resources. We provide input to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the teachers. We review current initiatives to determine whether they should continue, be updated, or be phased out. And that's all in alignment with Shape America's strategic plan. We guide new projects and recommend task forces as needed. That will come back later. We maintain connections with Shape America's special interest groups, and we share regular updates with the board of directors. And we have a representative from the board of directors on our council. I'm currently the chair this year, and we have 4 active members on our council. So we will hopefully be inviting a lot more people to join us next year.
Wonderful. And thank you both for the work that you're doing for the council. If I understand things correctly, Emily, you just jumped on the council a couple of months ago or 3 months ago. Would you mind explaining why you decided to volunteer for this position?
Sure. It's actually not the first time that I volunteered with Shape America. I was on a task force that produced the Inclusive Practices in Health Ed guidance doc. We finished that work up a couple of years ago. And through that work, I got to see a little bit more about how the Health Ed Council works and what sorts of projects can be produced to support our field and our profession. We had a liaison from the Health Ed Council that would meet with our task force. So similar to Michelle, I think Andy Milne suggested that I start volunteering and advocating for the subject that I love to teach through this Shape America work. I started as a PE teacher at a school where I was one of the only teachers. And so I learned so much from the Shape America community, and it's been a really central part in my development as a teacher. So I see this work with the Health Ed Council as a way of not only giving back, but continuing to sort of carry the torch, because there's been some incredible health educators that have been on the Health Ed Council in the past years as well.
Thank you. And Michelle, how about you? Why did you start volunteering?
Again, Andy Milne suggested that I volunteer, and it came at the right time because I was teaching by myself. I was the only health teacher in the district, and I really started advocating for health ed during COVID. And I just felt like I was speaking to a void, and why weren't more people talking about how important health is and health education? So I was really seeking community, and I really wanted to be the voice for health educators like me across the country that had no team, no one to help them. And so ultimately, Andy Milne connected me, and then
Wonderful.
I applied, and I was so honored to be accepted.
Wonderful. Yep, because he's been on the podcast a few times. We know each other. We've known each other for like 15, 20 years or something like that now. It's pretty wild. Probably 15. I don't want to age him too much. But thank you for volunteering. Thank you for both everything that you're doing. You know, you both brought up the point that at times we feel like we work on an island. And this is where I hope that this podcast is connecting some school health educators, at least to hear other people's voices so they don't feel all alone at times, but even going to conferences to connect, because it's challenging when you're in a district and nobody gets how you talk or what you do, your skill set. So thank you for raising that up, the both of you. Thank you. So what projects are you focusing on this year? On this council?
Well, this year, our main project is going to be looking at the SEL, or Social Emotional Learning, and Health Ed Crosswalk. It was created in 2019, and since then, the Shape America Health Ed standards have been updated. What I really like is that there's a little bit more focus on supporting community well-being in the new standards. So we thought it was a good time to look at updating that crosswalk. And as part of that, we're looking at creating a task force of people. And again, another opportunity for people to volunteer and advocate for comprehensive skill-based health ed. So that's the main project we're looking at. We'll do a promotion of October Health Literacy Month with Shape America. And then also the Health Ed Council is involved in the SHAPE National Convention and the coffee talks and some of the sessions that take place during that conference as well.
I'll add that we will have 6 coffee talks at the SHAPE National Convention, and we will have 2 sessions. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this yet, Emily, but Emily is also chairing our task force. And we reached out to folks in the SEL field. I didn't know about your book at that time, Lori, otherwise you would have gotten an email. But we reached out to people that were big ideas that we thought maybe wouldn't have the time, but we reached out anyway. And we had a lot of support. And I don't know if I can't say who is on it yet, but we had a lot of people that we thought were going to say no that actually said yes. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Congratulations for chairing that, Emily. That sounds like a great bunch of people to chair, or it sounds like a great project to chair. and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I'm about to submit a proposal for presenting at the conference, so I'm
great.
hoping to be there next year. And I know that they're changing the format a little bit, or you folks are changing the format, which is fantastic. And it's even on Saturday. It's a full day on Saturday, right?
That's right.
Great. Well, why are you focusing on SEL and health education? Why is that the project this year?
I think it was a passion of all of ours, and we kind of talked about different things we could do, and that was the one that we kept coming back to. I'll let Emily add a little more, but when you look at SEL support right now, actually most adults support SEL instruction in school, and it has future benefits for everyone. And Castle has a resource on their website that's clearly just evidence to support SEL. And I was going to present one year at a board meeting, and I was told right before it was on SEL and why we needed it in our school and why we should adopt the school-wide SEL program. And before the presentation, I was told not to say the acronym SEL. And that was my whole presentation. So I quickly changed it to social emotional health, also social emotional health literacy. But it was a shock that that was going to be something controversial. And it kind of opened my eyes to where other teachers around the country may not have the support to teach SEL in the state where they're at. So I think providing this document to say, hey, we're already doing this in our classrooms. We might call it social emotional health. We might call it health literacy, but we're already teaching the content and we're already teaching the skills. And there's a lot of support to say that it belongs in schools and people agree that it's effective. And I love the statistic from Castle that says there's a great return on investment. I think it's 11 to 1, but it's such a great statistic that there is a very important and significant return on investment. And it's bipartisan. It has support on both sides of the aisle or the spectrum. So it's well supported, but I think we need to provide support for educators so that they feel comfortable continuing to do what they're great at, and that is skills-based health ed. I'll let Emily share. I could talk about this for days.
I think we all could. Yeah, I learned early on to think of SEL as a lens that you look at everything you do through. So to me, SEL and health ed have always really cooperated with one another. It's hard to even for me to think about teaching health ed without that massive focus on face-to-face interaction with students in the classroom, or having them learn how to make responsible decisions. Like so much of those things just, they cooperate with one another. I think that the things that I keep seeing in my classroom within the last couple of years really support that social emotional growth. We're seeing kids that are spending more time on screens. We're seeing technology take over all of our lives. We're seeing the mental health impacts of being maybe connected online, but not like connected through community and belonging. So there's just a lot of reasons why I feel like the time that we're at right now in education makes a lot of sense for us to focus on how we all feel, how we all belong, how we all connect with one another. And again, the focus with this crosswalk is to look at the new standards that do a lot of that. Like, what does it mean to be in community and care about our community well-being? Well, classroom community is a beautiful place to start that learning. I talk about community with my 7th graders, and it's a concept that they're really starting to understand. So, yeah, I think that our whole profession, the connection between the skills we teach and the Castle competencies is really clear. But how can we promote more people within our profession to see the power of teaching SEL with our skill-based health ed?
I also want to add that we're often the people that have to sit on the school-wide SEL implementation program, either because we've done it before or we're more comfortable with that topic. So we're already, like I said before, we're already doing it. And like Emily said, we have already created communities in our classroom and we've done all these things. We just have to connect it and show the alignment, which is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Lori, how would you just wrote this book on SEL. How would you answer that question?
It's so simple, but it's complex. It's common sense. That's like we are the SEL experts. And I know others in the field that have been out in the field for a while even would agree that because when you look at those areas of health, we have that social and emotional aspect. And so in the book that I wrote, The Tactile Tools, it's really focusing on the emotional aspect and self-regulation, in which all children and youth can figure out their own tools, what makes them feel more centered. If it's something to write, if it's something to touch and do a breathing activity, it's so important. But I go back to it's simple, but it's not always supported. That's what makes it complex. And if I can do a little side story. My partner and I, we've been watching Ted Lasso. We've been rewatching the 3 seasons before we watch the 4th one. So don't tell me anything about the 4th. And we got up to almost the end of the 3rd season where Nathan is now coming back to the team. And there was a conflict. And conflict is okay. And this is what I don't get with people. Like, if you have a fight, that's okay. Why not provide an opportunity for people to talk and express themselves and say sorry or just have a conversation? And I said to my partner, this is how I felt my classrooms were. The classroom environment was that kids could mess up. And I'm thinking of one kid who, it was a senior or a junior when we were talking about OCD. And he actually said out loud, "Oh, that's all in your head. I don't believe in OCD. It's all in your head." And one of the students, the environment was set up so comfortably, and it's because of the social and emotional learning skills that we teach and setting up the norms. But another student turned around and said, "I've had it since middle school." And he said, open mouth, insert foot, like they had this internal conversation out loud, but that allowed for a deeper conversation. And so that we can go over these skills in health. And I know you had said earlier, we can go on and on and on, but I'm passionate about SEL and health ed because emotional and mental health need to be separated and compared. When we ask kids how they feel and they go, "I feel that," tells us they don't even know how to associate their feel. They don't even know what their feelings are. So to go back to, "I feel yucky, I feel angry, I feel annoyed," because I do that when I train future teachers. And every class, they always have to figure out the "I feel" statements. But mental is more of the thinking processes behind it, in my eyes. And I have a little activity on another episode. But then the communication skills, because when we say to kids, "Be nice," they have no clue. Because you put on even the news, people aren't being nice. So we have to go over those basics of what does it look like to be nice? What does my body language look like? What's the tone? So yeah, and again, the book goes more into the self-regulation, just even figuring out the emotions, because that's one major step to be healthier. But yeah, and then the communication skills. I just love what we do. And when you both referred to having a classroom setting where it's healthy, not perfect, but healthy.
It'd be great if adults had the SEL skills that we teach and the health ed skills, the health literacy skills that we teach. I have adults who will say to me, "Wow, can you imagine if the adults in our community had the emotional regulation skills?" Or there was a social media tutorial for adults that helped them regulate their emotions before they post. I think we're hopefully setting up the foundation for our students to grow up into adults that can have these health literacy skills and regulate their emotions, like you said.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Yes.
You also posted on one of your podcasts an app called How We Feel app. And that's a great, there's a lot of ways that I think teachers could use that as well. It's a great app. I was so happy to see that you referenced it because I used that, not for my students, but I used that program that it goes along with in my classroom back when I was teaching.
That's why I'm excited about what you're going to be creating for Catch for those elementary school children, because I've taught elementary school and we've done a lot of the social emotional. So if you need any help, please let me know. I loved it because there's so much creativity you can do. And if we help people have those skills earlier, it just progresses. Like consent education, let's start it earlier. Well, if someone wants to become more involved with SHAPE or apply to the HEC, what should they do?
There's a lot of ways. So I will first say if anyone has any interest or insight on the task force, please reach out to Emily or I, and we will filter your thoughts and take your ideas because we're really casting a wide net for what we look at, and then we're going to narrow it down. We all use CASEL standards, but there are other SEL standards out there. So we would like to look at some of those. So definitely reach out to us. We might be doing a public comment on that. So stay tuned. I'm not sure how we will advertise that, but we're hoping that that will be part of it. There's going to be a volunteer town hall for all of the councils. There's a few councils. There's Health Education Council, which obviously is my favorite, Physical Activity Council, Physical Education Council. There's a Research Council. There's a Higher Ed Council or Professional Preparation Council. There's a lot of different councils. And when you apply, you select your top three choices. And I will say it really is an honor to get selected to one of these councils. I know people who have been turned down for them, and I'm amazed because they're just wonderful teachers, and I was shocked. So don't give up if you don't get accepted the first time. Apply again the next year. I know for next year, we will have the application out fairly soon. By the end of the month, by the end of August, the application should come out, and then we will be accepting them until October 15th. And then we will go through all the applications, and hopefully we will get up to 4 new members. We might double in size because 2 of our members, including me, were rolling off, which means we will no longer be on the council, which I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. But after convention in March or April, we will not be on the council anymore. Also, another great way to get involved is to just join your local affiliation, go to conferences. I do love the New York State Conference. That's a wonderful one. But get involved in your councils, especially if they're connected to Shape America, then you can get connected that way. Your district, we have Eastern District here. Get involved at that level if you can. Emily, do you have any other ideas?
I just, I mentioned it before, like it's so common in PE and health to hear teachers talk about working in a silo, being the only teacher in their building, being the only teacher that it wants to teach skill-based health in their building. And there's a whole community of people out there that every time I go to a conference, every time I was on a task force meeting, when we're doing the inclusive practices task force, you're in the room with people who are passionate and who are thinking like you, or that have the same struggles, or even the same high points in the work that we do as you. And so connecting in those professional development spaces, I know for me has been like so rewarding and has really created me into the teacher that I am today. So if you have any thought about, wanting to hear more from other educators or wanting to give back, like Michelle said, Shape America or your local affiliate conferences, any of the councils, it really is, it's a really rewarding piece of the work that we do.
Thank you very much for sharing that, because I know that there are great people that do want to get more involved and they're not always sure how. Thank you.
Mhm.
Before we go today, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I will say I wrote a blog for Andy Milne,
Saw
and
that.
I provided the link if anyone wants to find out a little bit more about the Health Ed Council. Our page is up and running on the Shape America website, which I included a link to that. And come see us at the coffee talks. We'd love to see you. We're going to be presenting on the SEL Health Ed Crosswalk
Mhm.
at Shape Convention, along with another presentation we will have, which will connect all of the attendees with the free resources we can provide to help support teachers. So definitely come visit us, reach out via email. And also, Lori, if I forget to say this, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I can't say it enough because,
Thank you.
like Emily said, we do feel like we're in silos. So if we know that we hear a teacher talking about skills-based health ed, it makes us feel less alone, and like
Yeah.
some great minds think alike, where we have someone that we can connect to and hear that our good ideas are actually good ideas shared by all.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to get in contact with the two of you, how do they do that?
They
I would
can
say
reach out.
email.
Yeah, email for sure.
Okay. And so when we have the description for today, we can put those in the description, correct?
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Michelle and Emily, thank you so much for being here today. I love the conversation that we're having, and I know we could probably have a coffee talk right now, but it might go into
Yes.
a lunch talk and then a dinner talk and then a snack, a dessert. So I appreciate, I mean, you have so much knowledge, so much passion. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you like to say goodbye to our audience?
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Keep doing the work that you're doing. Thanks, Lori.
Yes. Thanks for changing the world with health ed. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah. You see, folks, what you're doing is so important. So please continue doing what you're doing. Please continue to listen to the School Health Educators podcast. Check out the schoolhealtheducators.org website, where there's a whole bunch of organizations listed on there, including Shape America. And last but not least, continue doing what you're doing. You're needed. Children and youth need you, and thank you for doing what you're doing. Have a nice day, folks. Thanks for listening in.